that. Found you. Call yourself a Nord? God have mercy on you! You're a disgrace to your own kind! Sure have mercy on you! Think you can take me?
Hello everyone, this is Kangar. Welcome back to Skyrim VR mods. Today I am going to show you Muken's Arcane Archery, or MARC. This is a shamefully underrated mod and it even flew under the radar for me, so it's about time to give it some love. So, MARC is another great mod by Muken, the author of MageVR, and it combines archery with magic. So you have these magic arrows, and shooting them actually casts a spell, and this spell also costs magicka and levels your experience. You can also use your own regular spells with this, so it really plays very well along with any other playstyle, or you can also just use this standalone as an arcane archer. So how does this work exactly? So if you hit someone or something with an arcane arrow or any other arrow from the mod, it actually really casts a spell as if you hit the target with that spell. And this is a regular spell that is affected by perks and any other spell modifications, and also fully interacts with things like elemental weaknesses and any other things. So it's really just a fully working spellcast system using arrows in your in your playstyle. So you can also aim much better. It's really easier to aim with bow and arrow than to aim with spells, as long as you don't use the cross. This mod is also really designed for going together with either MageVR or VRIK, because you need a lot of instant casting of spells. So for example, switching arrows is a spell, so you can use this glyph casting to switch arrows. For example, here are the fire arrows now, and any other modifications, sigils and so on. Is also done by using spells, so I highly recommend using this either with MageVR, which in my opinion works very well because it feels different from using VRIK regular spells, so you kind of know that you are now interacting with the Arcane Archery mod and not casting spells regularly, but of course this is up to you. But using some kind of instant spell casting mod is really highly recommended, otherwise you will spend tons of time in menus. Alright, so how do you get started? You get this arcane bow, either in the Riverwood Trader or I think on Farengar's desk, and there's also one in the College of Winterhold on your bed, or you just use the console. I did that. And yeah, so then you have this regular bow with the Arcane Archery enchantment, which you can disenchant and then use for any other bow. You can also buy the Arcane Binding spell from any spell vendor usually, and use that to enchant a bow with the Arcane Binding. But in addition to that, you of course also need the arrows, because otherwise you don't have anything to shoot. And for that you also need spells, and these are again sold in regular spell vendors, also here in Riverwood. Not all of them, but the core spells are here. So let's see. You have these spells. That's the stuff that you need: Conjuration, Summon, Arcane Arrow, Summon Flame, Frost, Shock, and Sun Arrow. And as you can see, the Arcane Arrow, that's the novice spell, is the weakest one, also costs fewest magicka, and then the others are Apprentice, are a little stronger, and oh yeah, you can barely read this, but yeah, you get these after a 2 seconds delay after casting this, so that you can't spam it, and they do reset any modifications you had, so you just have a regular Frost Arrow, let's say, for example, when using that. And this, for example, is something that you can easily do with a glyph. For example, Frost is this for me. So now I get Frost Arrows after 2 seconds, right? And then you also have these actual spells, right? So this is a real spell that's being cast, and the arrow is gone then. Let me show you. No. Let me show you. This is the fire. Sounds like a little explosion. Then the arcane is this. Right. And oh, I don't have the sun arrow. I think it is set up. But for completionist's sake, this is the sun arrow. So each have their nice, unique spells and sounds and so on, so it's really cool. It feels very, very nice and immersive. Okay, so other than using the single arrow summoning spell, you can also use the Elemental Quiver, which is a little more, it's an adept spell here, and using that you get all 5 different kinds of arrows. So if you check your items, you have Arcane, Flame, Frost, and Shock and Sun arrows. So you can use that now, for example, together with Mage VR holsters with different holster buttons or different areas, VRIK holsters, or simple realistic archery, which where you can use different combinations to pull different arrows. So that's really great, and it has the advantage that you don't have this 2 seconds delay, right, when switching spells. So it's a little bit so you have to use a holster, or you can use a holster, and you don't need to use spells to switch arrows anymore. Right, something that I should really mention is that these arrows cost magicka, right? Shooting them costs magicka, and as soon as you're out of magicka, they disappear. So so you have to also manage your magicka usage in this case, right? And they also give you experience, conjuration experience when summoning them, and then their respective destruction experience when shooting them. So that's pretty neat. In addition to the arrow spells and the bow, you also have sigil spells. Let me show you. These spells are destruction spells that modify the arrows that you have. For example, the Arcane Sigil Force here. Let me do it like this. Right. No, come on. Okay, whatever. So the Arcane Sigil Force gives your arcane arrows a push and costs additional magicka. So that's what you saw earlier. I was able to push them away. And then, for example, there's the Flame Sigil, which ignites your arrow, doing extra flame damage, and so on. There are a lot of different sigils with different levels, right? So so that's also really nice. It gives you a it's a fully fledged out playthrough. You can really use this. You can use the sigils alone, and of course, as I said, you can use it in addition with the regular spells. Using the sigils does cost more magicka, and actually not just a little, so you want to use them carefully. And also, as I said, the sigils stay with your currently equipped spell until you switch arrows. Stay with your arrow until you switch arrows. Or you recast the same arrow type. So you can just cast it once, and then it stays there, and it continues to cost magicka, but it also continues to apply. Okay, so I have been talking a lot about that it's possible to use your own spells. Now let me show you how. If you use the Arcane Binding here, and then you choose any spell that you would like to use, for example Frost Nova. Now the Arcane Binding is a power, and the Frost Nova is a spell right there. So if I now cast a power, which is the grip button in my controller scheme, anyways, if you cast that, this is now engraved to any frost spell. So you can engrave up to 5 different spells for the different types, where the destruction spells are going to their respective element, and illusion and conjuration spells are going to arcane, and the multi-element to sun and sun arrows, if I remember correctly. This is all, of course, in the description of the mod. Also importantly, if you have 2 spells, just to be clear, if you have 2 spells in your hands, then the main hand spell is being engraved. So just that you know that. Okay, so you have this Arcane Binding. You can set up everything before, right? This stays engraved until you erase the engravements, right? And now, of course, I can use, for example, this was shock spell. Let's use shock arrow. This is just a regular shock. Yeah, no, it had 2-second delay. Regular shock spell, or shock arcane arrow, but it did not have the crackle effect that I engraved to it, right? So now I need to use the arcane tap power here. This is not there from the beginning, don't worry. It's going to be there as soon as you engrave for the first time. Just I was confused by that, but it's going to come up as soon as you engrave and you use Arcane Binding for the first time. So now if you use Arcane Tap while you have an arrow out, then shoot something, then the spell is being cast. Or let me use a different spell type. This is Flames. Now using the tap, now shooting this will cast a Firestorm. And it's going to be cast from wherever you hit, and but it's going to be you as the caster. So you cannot just sneak your way around being the offender. But yeah, you can cast any regular spell. Importantly, you have a cooldown. So let me show. This, yeah, it works again already, but not instantly. Right, there is a cooldown for the tap. It's not super long, but you cannot totally spam it all the time. Yeah, as I said, you can still like use it regularly, but it always costs the magicka that you cast. But don't worry, there is a cooldown, so it's not a bug, it's a feature. And importantly, this is a shout cooldown. so it will affect your shouts. You cannot use a shout right after using an Arcane Archery engraved spell. So just so you know it. Yeah, as I said, I really want to emphasize this works great in combination with Mage VR and or VRIK. So VRIK obviously for the slot and also for the different holsters, and I mean VRIK is great all around. And Mage VR for the glyph casting, and of course Mark then for the spells. And I think this is a really fantastic mod that I totally didn't consider so far because I'm not playing an archer, and this is a great combination of archery and magic, because I always thought archery alone is pretty boring, right? I mean, of course you need to aim, and that's nice in itself, especially in VR, but it's just not as cool and versatile as being a mage or combining Spellsiphon with weapon throw VR and so on. So then you have much more to do there. But with Mark, I can totally imagine being a full-blown arcane archer and focusing only on that. And this is really cool. Of course, you can still combine it with magic cast with gestures, for example, for healing yourself and so on. But yeah, this is really, really cool, and the mod has been out for quite a while. But I don't know. I just never really noticed it, if you will, and it also didn't get much publicity in the subs. So yeah, let's change that. Please, yeah, check it out. Go to the mod page, read up. There's much more. There are some more sigils that I haven't mentioned. And there are also additional arrow types that I haven't mentioned, so there's actually really a lot of depth to this mod, and you should go check it out. Okay, so that was it for today. I hope you found this video interesting and helpful, and if you did, please give it a like, and also tell me in the comments what you think about the mod, if you want to use it and so on. And yeah, then I hope to see you in the next video, and bye!